Hi friends, it's Sarah, the owner and maker behind Multifarious Nature. Thank you so much for joining me today for another video. If you are a new viewer, welcome to you. And if you're a returning viewer, big welcome back. I'm glad you guys are here for another episode. And we'll get into all kinds of fun knitting goodies. I've been knitting a bit. I say I'm still knitting my usual amount, not quite as quickly as I normally do. I am still like the walking wounded right now. And I keep irritating my wrist. And by wrist, it's really kind of between my wrist and my forearm. I am grateful I'm going to be seeing my physical therapist tomorrow because I think I bruised something and I want to obviously not keep irritating it. So I'm going to hopefully get some tips on how to keep things healing in the right direction because I don't want to make it worse. I'm wearing one of my sweaters. The design is by Andrea Mowry. It is Alpine Glow. Pretty sure it's called Alpine Glow. It was one of her Rhinebeck sweaters. I think it was from 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. Don't quote me on it. But it is Andrea Mowry of Dre Renee Knits sweater. And I used my hand-dyed yarn for this portion right here. It is on my alpaca merino silk base, held double, and that is Stardust. I think it's the Stardust colorway. It's a really pretty kind of cloud color. It's really beautiful. I love it. It's light blue. Not a usual color that I tend to gravitate towards, but I really liked it in this pattern. This is from Stonehenge Fiber Mill. It's their crazy yarn, and that's what I use throughout the body as well. And also throughout this yoke area. Then I also use Stonehenge Fiber Mill's Roxy yarn. It is a farm yarn that they have. It's their alpaca. So this alpaca is still soft, but I'd say this is more a mature alpaca. So it has, it's still soft, but a little bit more tooth than say the fluffy Surrey alpaca that is in my Surrey floof. Alright, and I don't know why I said that's alpaca merino. You'll have to bear with me, you guys. I've had a bit of a day, so this is an alpaca silk, not merino. There's no merino in that. It's primarily alpaca and then some silk. Alright, there we go. Anyway, I'm grateful it's Thursday. I'm grateful to be sitting down and doing this video with you guys and talking about all kinds of nitty goodness. So we'll get into which project? They're all works in progress. I don't have any finished objects this week. And I primarily worked on 2 projects. One in particular, and then I had to switch over to the other. So I'll start with the one that I had to switch over from, because I worked on it the most. That is my Wildflowers. I think it's Wildflowers Path. I keep getting that name wrong, but it's by Melody Hoffman. This is my second one. This is with Nutidin held double, and then Old Mill Yarn held double as well. You guys, I am binding off. So I've worked with Nutidin before, and it was just an unspun. I've also worked with Plotalopi before. I'm trying to get closer because for some reason my last video did actually sound kind of quiet. I don't know why. I am a rather quiet individual in general, but the volume was really quiet. I don't usually listen to my videos through, but I could actually hear part of it when I was trying to do my little like screenshot for my thumbnail, like I call it thumbnail, and I was kind of quiet. So I'm trying to get closer so you guys can hear me, but maybe eventually I'll just break down and buy like a relatively inexpensive microphone. I don't know. But here we go. So, binding off. This I actually did the correct length of the ribbing at the bottom. My first one was actually, I think, a little shorter of the ribbing. I don't think I did the full 3 inches. So this will be a slightly longer version, which I'm all for. I like having longer sweaters. The cropped ones are cute, but I do like having longer ones because otherwise I find I'm constantly pulling them down. Like this one. This Alpine Glow, it is rather cropped. It hits the top of my high-waist jeans. And I find I'm constantly trying to pull it down, which I don't want to do that. I don't want to have to constantly pull it down. That's not a pleasant experience for me. So, but binding off with this Nutiden is posing a bit of a problem for me. I'm holding it double. I'm also holding it with this old mill yarn that's being held double. And even with that, when I am trying to, and I tried to like kind of felt it a little bit with my hands, it's still coming apart as I'm binding off. And I actually, okay, this is how much I bound off, you guys, just so you can get an idea of how frustrating this is. So this is all I have bound off. I still have well over half of it to bind off. And I have already replaced the 2 strands. Like, it was falling apart. So I removed it. I pulled off another 2 strands off of the cake of Nutiden, the plate, and then basically kind of felted the ends and then worked from that. And I'm still now starting to come apart again. And I'm being very careful. So if you've never worked with unspun, especially when you are binding off in like a tubular bind off, I'm doing tubular, which I kind of wish I hadn't. I love the way tubular bind offs look. I do. It gives it this really beautiful finished edge that just looks like you've knit over the edge. But I'm finding with this Nutiden, this batch of Nutiden, it's very light and fluffy, it's very soft. I'm finding it's extremely frustrating when it comes to doing it this way. Actually, sewing with it. So it's basically sewn bind off, and I really wish, I don't like the finished look of it on the sweater, but I really wish I had done like just a typical bind off, super stretchy bind off. I really just kind of wish I had done that, because it would have been, one, a lot easier, and it would not be falling apart. But I like the look of the sewn bind off, which is why it's the recommended bind off, because it does look better. So I'm literally to the point now where I'm going to need to probably break it again and add 2 more strands again. The good news is, even the ones I've broken off, I can use that to do the embroidery of the little flowers on the front of it. So all is not lost. It will not go to waste, but it's extremely frustrating. So I love this pattern. I absolutely love it. And I love Nutiden. I do. But this pattern with Nutiden is making me want to do it in Plotalopi again, because I really like Plotalopi. Plotalopi is Icelandic yarn. It's unspun, but it has really long fibers. So you basically, with Nutiden, there's lots of like different lengths of fibers. So some of them are kind of small. So when you knit with it, you really don't need to tension it at all, because it can break super easy, which this one I've already broke multiple times when I was knitting with it. So I already kind of anticipated this might happen. So I kind of was like trying to mentally prepare myself that this could be a problem when I'm sewing it, like doing the sewn bind off. And it is a problem. So safe to say, I don't think I would do this pattern again with Nutiden. I definitely probably won't do this pattern again anyway. I mean, I've knit it twice already. But then again, who knows? Never say never. If there's a pattern that it's so nice that you knit it twice, I always say you might knit it again. So if, I wear through a sweater, I would probably be tempted to knit another one. But probably not in Nutiden. Nothing against Nutiden yarn. I love it. It's very soft and fluffy. But I have to say, I prefer knitting with Plotalopi when it comes to unspun. I have not worked with all the unspun that are out there. There are other ones I'd like to try at some point. I think Wool Dreamers is one that's supposed to be pretty good. Oh, there's another one. She's a smaller business. I think it's Wild in the Woods. I think that's what it's called. Wild in the Woods. Serena. I would love to work with her on spun at some point. But, alas. I only have 2 to compare it to, or one other one to compare this Nutaden too, and it's tricky. I will say though, the other Nutaden that I'd worked with had some longer fibers in it, so it wasn't quite as sensitive and fragile. Fragile's the word I'm looking for. Not as fragile as this one. This is Vaja Hem. If you're in the market for some Nutaden and somebody's selling it, because you can't get it right now, of course, they always make small batches of it. But if you see someone selling that colorway, then this is what it is. And not saying it's not nice to work with, but don't do the sewn bind off. Don't do it. Don't make the mistake I am. I like the look of it though. You cannot say that the look isn't good. Where is it? There it is. It looks so nice, but it's such a pain to do when you're working with fragile yarn. Oh my gosh, I love the way it looks, the bind off, but it takes an eternity to do. Eternity. That is about a quarter of a sweater. Okay, it does not take me this long to bind off a sweater. I've only done a quarter of a sweater, and I've worked on that the past 4 nights, 3 nights, I think 4 nights. I usually do about a half hour to an hour of knitting after dinner, and so that's at least 2 hours at the bare minimum of binding off, and I'm only a quarter of the way bound off. So that is saying something. It's very, very slow for me. So I'll get there. Whew. I love that pattern though. I will tell you, Wildflower Path. If you're looking for a really fun, cozy, it's worsted weight. You can use worsted weight, wool and do that. I'm using, I think it's worsted weight. It's probably between worsted and like Aran. I guess it's probably between those, but just you have to do a gauge swatch, see how it turns out. But I don't think you have to do unspun, but it is really nice to work with unspun yarn. So, but if you have to choose, if you've never worked with unspun, Plotolopi. It's pretty easy to get your hands on Plotolopi. If you go to WIPS, there's a couple other yarn stores I think that sell it too, but I have ordered through WIPS, which is yarn.com, and not sponsored. I just have purchased from them multiple times. They send things quickly. They do have excellent customer service. I had an item that actually got damaged in transit, and they replaced it, and I really appreciated that. They were quick to do so, and yeah, great things to say about WIPS. So if you're looking for some unspun yarn that's reasonably priced here in the United States, definitely check them out. Of course, I always say try to go to your local yarn store first if you can. But if they don't sell it, because not many do, my local yarn store does not sell it. So there you go. All right, next project. I'll stop ranting about my Nutaden. I love Nutaden, but Nutaden is softer than Plotolopi, but Plotolopi, guys, don't get mad at me, but I like working with Plotolopi more when it comes to knitting. I know. I said it. Okay. Anyway, let's get to the next one. So, okay, here's part of my problem. I'm reaching and I grab a lot with my left hand. So bizarre. I am right-handed dominant. Like, I do most things with my right hand. Except apparently grabbing, pushing, and all of those things, and that is aggravating this arm. So, I'm just trying not to overdo it with my right arm, and then I'm in a bad state of affairs. Alright, so this is my half and half triangles wrap. The designer is Pearl Soho, and I am using my Multifarious Nature yarn. This is, okay, again, mid-row. Look how far I'm getting, you guys. This is all I have left. Bear in mind, I usually get like 4 rows done. So 4 rows, basically each stitch is a row. So I usually get like 4 rows done per day, because I do it on my lunch break, and I knit for about a half hour or so. So there you have it. I've got about this much time left. You do the math. I love this. I am already thinking of the next half and half triangles wrap. Isn't that funny? It's garter stitch. It's garter stitch. Just knitting back and forth, and then I do German short rows. I do the German short rows here, and I kid you not, you guys, it is the most addicting thing. If you want something that is so relaxing, it's very relaxing. So it's the epitome of relaxing knitting. So this is my Kismet colorway. This is my alpaca merino nylon base. So it's 20% superfine alpaca, 60% superwash merino, and 20% nylon. Speckled with some salmon in there, some brown speckles. There's even some lilac. I don't know if you can see that. There's some lilac in here too. It's a really fun color, and I think it just goes with so many different skin tones. It's going to be super flattering on basically everybody. Love it. All right, and then the other colorway here is Strawberry Shortcake. Super fun pink. Very vibrant. Super vibrant. And this also, I think, would look great on a lot of different skin tones. And I think together, it's going to be super pretty. So I'm primarily making this to be a blanket because it's going to be massive. I did the bigger, or biggest. I guess big and biggest, or big and bigger. Whichever one, the bigger or the biggest, is the one that I did. It's both. It's the bigger and the biggest. And then, obviously, you wear it as the half and half triangles wrap. You can wrap it like this, where it will like slightly overlap, and it's beautiful. But it's also a massive square because they're two triangles. So it's a massive square, which you cannot even remotely see at the moment because it's huge. And I don't want to dip it in my tea. But I'm just cruising along, guys. I'm cruising. So this is where I was last week. Oh dear. Don't want to drop my stitches. Okay. That's where I was last week. So really, it's like an inch and a half or so of progress. But again, you're going back and forth. And there's a lot of stitches. Sorry about that. Making noises. Anyway. Love it. Definitely one of my favorite knits. I have got to tell you guys. And the next time I make a half and half triangles wrap, I want to do the striped version. And by the striped version, I think I'm just going to go completely rogue and just take random colors. Not completely random. Obviously, I'm going to pick a palette. But I really think doing a advent or something kind of like an advent would be a really fun way of doing the half and half triangles wrap with stripes. And as you go and the stripes get longer and longer, your color chunks are going to get smaller and smaller. Then you can alternate colors. I don't know. The possibilities are endless. I'm really excited about it. And I want to make another one. Is that crazy or what? I can see why this is so addicting. There are so many people that have made so many of them. Obviously there's a lot of them in general. But most people make like a couple of them. And I can see why. This is my first one and I already am trying to figure out the next one. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And I am a convert to the half and half triangles wrap. It sucked me in and I can't get enough of it. I can't stop. And I don't want to. So, all right. I worked a little bit on my healing blanket, which I guess I can show you guys. I've got it over here. I didn't knit much on it. I think I did a row. Usually, like I said, I usually do like a row or two when I work on it. There's so many stitches that I easily just do like a row every single time I do it because it's a lot. But you can just see the progress. It's going to be a slow and steady progress, but I'm really enjoying it. And it's kind of hilarious. I am randomly grabbing colors and the stitches that are like the drop down stitch at the moment, they like keep alternating and they're like the same colors. It's weird how that happens, right? So hilarious. That actually makes me want to like purposely grab a different color, but I can already tell that this color, my next one's going to be this like taupe color is the drop stitch. So I'm mixing it up again. All right, that's that. Really fun. Okay, I'm calling that my healing blanket. That's not really the name of it. Sorry. It's the Incredible Blanket by Pearl Soho. It may or may not be free anymore. I think it was free for a brief stint there when it first came out, but I don't know if it is anymore. It's a lot of fun to knit though. If you're looking for fun, semi-relaxing, you have to pay attention a little bit because it has basically it's kind of like half fisherman's rib where you have to, it's not half fisherman's rib, but it's very similar where you have to like knit and stitch below. So you gotta pay a little bit of attention. All right, there's only one other pattern I worked a little bit on. That is, I keep doing it, you guys. I keep grabbing with this hand. Oh my gosh, I'm my own worst enemy. No wonder my hand is just, my arm actually is throbbing. Paper Daisy Creations. It is the Turkish Delight socks. It is one of my Advent sets from Multifarious Nature, this past year's Advent, my 2023 Advent. I did sock sets this year, and so this is the second sock set, which is by the Chimney with Care. And I cannot honestly remember the last time I talked about this, but I think I was somewhere around here. So I kept knitting up the leg here. Basically, like each repeat, I move my little marker so that way I can tell where I'm at. And it's not hard. It's not hard at all. I'm getting to the point where I'm kind of trying to figure out how much longer I want to make it at the top. I do want it to be a tall-ish sock, and I have this much of the cake left. So I know I'm going to definitely have a decent amount left over. So this would be a great color I could add to a half and half triangles wrap. See, I've got all these great ideas going on here, guys. But love it. It's a beautiful brown with some multicolors on here. The hearth was definitely the inspiration. So, you know, it's Christmassy. So by the Chimney with Care, where I grew up, my mom would always decorate their fireplace that was brick, and it had it would have like a swag and lights on it and flower, like little berries and things like that. And so that's what this was inspired by. And then of course you gotta have some beautiful cozy golden colors in there, just because why not? I thought that would be a beautiful contrast color with it. All right. Whew. It is on my my merino nylon base, and 75-25, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And yeah, I did make a mistake in it. I'm not going to point it out. You don't need to know. But I did make a mistake, just so I can be honest. And because of the patterning, I did not want to rip back. But I did make a mistake. It's a sock, though, you know. It's not really that visible. It's going to be in my shoes or under my pants, and no one's really going to see it. And even if they did see it, if they could see the mistake, they're looking too close at my feet. And they have no business doing that. I'd love to hear what you guys are working on. What are you up to? Have you worked with unspun yarn before? I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. If you have a favorite that I did not mention, please do share below. I always love to discover new fun yarns, unspun yarn, even though I'm not going to be buying a lot of yarn in the near future. Because I guess I can get into the life update end of things. I talked about this last video, and I'm super excited, you guys. This weekend, I get to go play with the baby lambs. Oh my gosh. They're so cute. So now they're, I think, 4 weeks old. I think they're 4 weeks old. They're pretty little still. But I get to go see them. I get to go see our first one that we purchased. Technically, we put down a deposit. So with I think most livestock, well, not all of them, but if they're bred, a lot of them you put like a deposit, and that basically holds them until they are of the age that they can be released and go home with you. And at the moment, they're too little. They have to be with their mother still. But after, I think it's after 10 weeks, then they wean them. And then once they're weaned, they're not relying on their mother's milk anymore. And then they can come home. The good news is that they can't come home with us yet because we still have to put the fencing up anyway. That is going to be a lot of work, but we need to do that soon. So that's kind of the next thing that we need to do is that we've been working on the pasture, getting it established. I put down some seed. So we got a pasture seed mix and spread that in like most of our area, the pasture we're going to be keeping them in. We spread it in most of the area and then really focused in an area that's a little bit spotty. So did that and then laid down some dirt on top of it, the area that really needs seed. And then my husband worked really hard to dig an area, kind of like level it a little bit more for their house. So we're dropping in their little shed barn. It's not really a barn. I feel like it needs to be a certain size. So it's tiny, but it's big. It's big in a sense that we could definitely fit quite a few sheep in there, but we're only going to get 3 right now, and that's going to be plenty. So I'm really excited. But we did already put deposit on one. She's so adorable, and she is a light gray ewe, but she has she's so cute. She's light gray, but she has almost like, it could just be the lighting, but it almost seems like she has slightly darker gray around her eyes. And then her legs have this beautiful speckling on it. She's really pretty. So we have her, and then we have to find 2 more. And I'm definitely kind of leaning towards certain colors because I love the flexibility of not only working with the color in its natural state, which is just going to be beautiful, but being able to dye it would also be a lot of fun. And seeing what else I could do with it. So, because these are definitely going to be little fiber critters. That's what my goal is with them. And I'm so excited. They're Shetland. I don't know if I mentioned that. Shetland sheep. They're purebred Shetlands. So, they may or may not rue, which means that their fleece as it grows actually has a natural weak point. This is my understanding. I am not an expert. But my understanding is it does have a natural weak point that forms, and you can actually pluck the wool off of them. So that is another way of shearing them, basically, but it's called ruing. But there are some, depending on how they were bred, that kind of genetic trait, or that's considered a genetic trait, that might have kind of been bred out of them. But we will see. I am all for trying to learn how to shear the sheep. I want to do blade shearing. I do not want to use the electric one. That freaks me out. I would wound myself, that's for sure, and I definitely don't want to wound the animal. That would be terrible. So, yeah, I have no business going near those crazy looking things. I am a rather gentle-natured person, and so for me, that's why knitting is like my favorite thing in the whole wide world. It's quiet and peaceful and relaxing. And so when I shear a sheep, I want it to be relaxing as can be, which obviously it's going to be semi, you gotta pay attention and all of that. But I want it to be a calm practice where I can use this blade shears, which look like giant scissors basically, and just slowly take the fleece off of them and make it so it's a semi-pleasant experience for not only myself, but also the sheep, hopefully. We will see. Obviously, I need to get myself healed because that would be important. But the good news is I have no business shearing a sheep for a while because they're babies and they need their fleece for over the winter. So I'm pretty sure that I won't be shearing them until next spring. Not this spring, but next spring, which is great because that gives me time to continue to learn and heal. Well, I get to see the sheepies. So I'm so excited. I'm so excited. You guys, it was such a Fruit Loop about it. I cannot wait. And I saw a photo of the breeder. I saw her son was socializing the lambs. Oh my gosh, he's sitting there and they're just all around him and they're so adorable. I want to sit there and be surrounded by baby lambs. Like, why would someone not enjoy that? They're so cute. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm probably gonna want to take them all home. We cannot take them all home. We are in no position to do that. I'm way too new to take that many sheep on at once. It would be a bad idea. But as always, if you are someone who has sheep and has any pointers for a newbie, I would greatly appreciate any of your wisdom. I know better than to think I have any idea what I'm doing. Other than the basic knowledge I've learned by watching things online, reading books. I think, I'm trying to remember the name of this book. So Tess Harding, I think is her last name. I purchased a book a while back, actually about a year ago, and she is called I think it's called Sheep Whispering, I think that's the name of it. It's not a very big book, and it's actually very cute the way it's written, and she talks about some tips about raising sheep and things of that nature. So I'm finding that quite helpful. I've been reading that. But I would greatly appreciate any wisdom you're willing to share. So I live in Michigan. I know I've mentioned this before, but if you're new, you may not know this. So I live in Michigan, the southwest side of the state, and it gets cold here, very cold, and it also gets moderate for the most part, and it can get quite warm in the summer and humid definitely on occasion. So I'm trying to figure out the whole fly strike end of things. That obviously is something I would want to prevent from happening. That can be very traumatizing for an animal and can cause them a lot of harm. So if you guys have any tips on that, I'll talk to the breeder, of course, because she lives in my area. But I always appreciate it. I always want to hear things from others that are willing to share. I greatly appreciate it. So if you're willing to share, thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you already have, thank you so much, because it means so much to me. I think it's important that we know things based on learning, even in the midst of it. Maybe learning the hard way sometimes. I always try to help others try to not learn the hard way, even though sometimes that's the way it happens. If I can save someone, that I try to. I do try to. All right. Anyway, I think that's about it for this week. Yeah, I think that's it. I don't think I have anything new to share other than that. But I hope you guys are well, and I hope you are knitting and making in any form, any art form. Yeah. Be well, you guys. Have a great rest of your week. Take care.